And then we are using this import. So before we dive into import, there are some reserved words in Python that they mean something, and we cannot use them in a different context. So we cannot create a variable or something that is called false or none or true, because they are reserved words. They have a meaning in Python. Before we dive into import, we need to understand that in Python, a module is a one Python file. So we can write our code and save it into a file, and this file would have the extension .py, and a package is a collection of modules. So in this case here, there is librosa with many modules. There are all these different functions for displaying feature extraction, onset detection, spectrogram, decomposition, effects, utilities, filters. So there are many interesting functions here in this package. So as I mentioned before, here is librosa, this Python package. And now we talk a bit about modules. So if you're just using a Python interpreter and you're just putting some variables there and making calculations, and if you close this interpreter, all the definitions that you have made, they are lost. So you need somehow to write a program and to store this program. In Python, it's a scripting language, and this is known as creating a script. So if your program gets very long, you may want to split your program into several files, and then it makes it easier for you to maintain your code. So to support this, Python has a way to put definitions in a file and use them in a script or in an interactive instance of the interpreter. And these are called modules. And these modules can be imported into other modules or into the main module. So this collection of variables that you have access to it in a script executed at the top level and in calculator mode. So usually a module will have definitions and statements, but we are going to take a look at this later. The important here now is to understand what is a module, what's a package. So we can import a module. So for example, if we have this, we create this Fibonacci module, so we write these things inside this, save this as fibo.py, we can use import fibo, and then it will import this module. So this does not enter the names of the functions defined in fibo directly. It only enters the module name fibo there. So we use fibo.fib, which is this function here, and then we can execute. So this module can contain executable statements and function definitions. So we are going to look at this later on. So what we are doing here in our code example is to import librosa, which is here. Another thing what we are doing in our example code that is related to import here is this import ipython.display as IPD. Here in the documentation of Python is saying that if the module name is followed by s, then the name following s is bound directly to the imported module. So now, instead of writing, when you import fibo as fib, you're going to use this fib to access the functions of the Fibonacci. So this is what we are doing here. And we can also, from fibo, import fib as Fibonacci. So now we are saying that this, when we want to execute this function here, that is in the module fibo. So from fibo, we importing fib, but instead of using fib, we are going to use Fibonacci, and this is what it is doing here. Let's go back to our example, and in the next line, we are already using then this librosa. So I could, for example, have used from librosa import load, and then I would not need this part here. So in fact, let's test. So I'm importing librosa. Now I'm loading this file. oh, this file is not available because I didn't run the configuration cell to download this file. So if you encounter some problems, you need to learn how to debug. And the problem here is because it tried to load a file that didn't exist. But now we have this file here. Let me hide this code here so it looks everything fine. So now when we run here, it finds this file and it loads. But we could also do import librosa as, let's call it rosa. So I could now use rosa here. And another way of doing this would be from librosa import load. But we will see this in different examples, so I will not go into detail here.